whole throat. So if I scream like this, that sounds different than see, I went to that O sound.
Right.
Oh, is much low in there. If I take the tip of my tongue and put it on the roof of my mouth, it sounds really like. Right? Phil Labonte.
Wow.
Phil Labonte told me that.
Yes, and Phil's a good one too. So, is there any? Wow, that was quite a lesson.
I learned a lot from Phil Labonte because he's one of the early guys, right? So I was like, struggling along, and then he showed me something. I was like, "Whoa, dude, how'd you do that?" And he taught me. I go, "Oh, that's awesome. Thanks."
Is there any singers out there that you haven't worked with that you are still hopeful one day? Who comes to mind that you would love to work with?
Yeah, there was somebody I was thinking of before the other day, and I was only thinking that because I want to meet him, not because he needs it.
Mm-hmm. Who's that?
It's kind of a selfish thing. Well, I know in the past I've wanted to work with Michael Ockerfeldt,
Okay.
but he is, because I think he's an amazing force of being. And there's some other people, and I'm just trying to think who it is, because it just went by me recently. It was somebody who was like, oh, well, he doesn't need me. I would like to work with like Chris Cornell, but not for screaming, but just because I just like to be in his presence. Let's see, who else are my favorites? There's somebody else. Oh, I know who it is. I'm working on him. If you hear this, dude, I'm working on you. No. It's Johnny Craig.
Okay.
I would like to work with Johnny Craig because that is a beautiful voice. We saw him the other night, but I've been like just a big fan ever since I heard him the first time. So I would like to spend some time with Johnny Craig just because it's for me. I might not. I did spend some time with him the other night, actually backstage.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's remarkable? This guy is so musical. Like, I gave him an exercise, and he immediately rewrote the exercise to his style, which is like, I went, oh, the exercise goes like this, Johnny. Wee, 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 wee. And he goes, wee, 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 wee. Like, okay. Like, all right. It was awesome.
But that's something that a lot of people probably don't know. And, when they hear the term coach, they probably think, you're in a room like this and you're one-on-one lessons, which of course does happen. But you're also spending a lot of time, like literally at the shows with these guys, helping them with their warm-up exercises right before they take the stage, correct?
Right. Well, it just happened that I was going to a show to see. There were two clients that happened that my friend Bonnie told me were going to be in town. And so I went to visit them to see how they were doing, right? And it just so happened that I think it got out on Twitter that I was there, and there was another student that was playing the White Rabbit like 2 days later, and he said, I hear you're in town, you better come and fucking see my show. Right? So of course I had to be at the White Rabbit again. So, and then, and Johnny Craig was at that show, and, oh no, he was at the first show. That's right. And Johnny Craig said, oh, you're Melissa Cross. Oh, give me an exercise. Give me some exercise. Come on, give me some pointers. I was like, okay. I'm like, okay, what I can pull out of the hat here? Because I want this client. I want him to come back. So what can I do? So I gave him an exercise, and he made it better. He gave me like this killer version of it. I was like, really? I didn't have the heart to say, Johnny, you're not supposed to sing this. This is an exercise. This is for a certain reason. But he's so like... Everything that comes out of him was like Marvin Gaye, it's like so like soulful.
And you mentioned Chris Cornell. Soundgarden was here last Thursday, or in Austin last Thursday. I don't know if you were in town for that, but maybe one day if Chris sees this, who knows? He
doesn't need me, but I've been like he has been my favorite singer since Soundgarden, plopped in the '90s. So I love Chris Cornell. I love the emotion. The emotional commitment of him, he's got an instrument that that really he was gifted with. You know, that instrument is, you're born with that thing, right? I'm sure that he worked and stuff, but I think he had very little training before he started. In fact, I know he had some injuries early on that he's been, you know, doesn't fight anymore. I think I've missed a bunch of singers that I should have mentioned in this interview. So whoever you are that's out there that I love you, I'm sorry I forgot you. There's a million people out there that I totally love that I forgot. Including, who did I forget that I worked with that it was such a joy, that sings better than he ever thought he could. It is Machine Head, Robb Flynn.
Robb Flynn, there you go.
Okay, Robb Flynn is a tremendous singer, but he didn't know he could sing. So he was like, blah, 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 like for so long, right? And now it's like singing with acoustic, and oh my God, the guy is so talented. Oh my God, he's so talented. Like I try to bring out stuff that when they start out as kids, as screamers, a lot of it wasn't cool to sing. You were a pussy if you sang, right? And now, having some maturity and stuff, it's like, it's all music. It's just music. It's just an expression. It doesn't matter if you're metalcore or post-punk hardcore, like art metal, you know, math metal, whatever. It's all music. And you must do everything that you can to express yourself. And these guys have some tremendous voices that they were like sort of putting back onto the carpet because it wasn't cool to sing. So that is my favorite kind of client, is the one that I pop that one open.
I noticed you've also worked with comedian Jim Brewer, I believe.
Oh my God.
Do you deserve partial credit for Jim being able to do such a great James Hetfield impersonation?
No, sorry.
Yeah!
Have you ever seen Goodnight with a Light Switch?
No.
Oh my God. He gets on a light switch. And actually, the only place you can find this is on his Facebook page, right? Basically, he gets in a hotel room with a light switch, right? He goes, good night with a light switch. He starts going, and the song's over, and he goes, yeah, rock! And he goes, and the lights go, he takes the switch, and it's like a strobe light, and he goes, good night, good night, good night, good night, New York, and then the light switch goes on and off. It's so funny. He goes, he is a handful. I love that guy. You know, my first lesson with him, I didn't feel like I should have been paid nothing, because I was just cracking up the whole time. I didn't teach him anything. He was just like making me laugh. So I made him come back, because I said, dude, you just performed for me the whole time. I didn't teach you anything. You have to come back. So he came back.
Well, final thing before we wrap this up, do you have a short, somewhat memorable, favorite type of scream story?
A scream story?
Whether an anecdote from a musician that came to see you for the first time, or just something that happened at a show, or sound that you heard one time from a client or at a concert that you weren't expecting.
Well, okay, I'll tell you a quick street. My favorite story is the one with Randy and the whips, but that's not really screaming, but it's pretty funny. But I'm going to tell you a quick scream story. Well, I was supposed to be introducing Randy's side project. At the time, it was called Halo of Locusts. And I was introducing him at a club deep in New Jersey, and he wanted me to introduce them. So I got on the mic and I was screaming on the mic, right? It's like, ladies and gentlemen, right? You know, doing that, right? And there was nothing on the mic, and I just looked like a freaking idiot. It's like, oh well. But the real funny story I got to tell you is Randy collects whips. Okay, that's his hobby. Okay, so one of the first times I met him, he told me that he was a collector of whips, and he wanted to know if there was anywhere in Manhattan that he could find whips. And the only place I knew of were these sex stores on Christopher Street, right? So I'm thinking, I've got to take him down there. I'm not letting this little guy go down there by himself, because God knows what could happen in like the West Village in New York, right? Because they'll eat him alive down there, right? So I go down in this dungeon, like the sex store, right? And he finds a nice looking whip, and we take it up these stairs up to the register, and this nice little, nubile little, girl says, "Oh, that's a nice one. Is it for you or is it for her?" And I said, "It's for both of us. I'm his mother."
I bet her face was priceless.
She was totally bright red. Like I was like so impressed that I had actually like embarrassed someone who works in a sex store. Me, like I'm a big prude, you know. It was like, it's for me. I'm his mother.
Do you mind if I share with you my favorite Scream story real quick?
Go ahead.
Also kind of having to do with Lamb of God, but 2006 here in San Antonio, Slayer and Lamb of God, of course, were doing the Unholy Alliance tour. When they came here to San Antonio, Jeff Hanneman, may he rest in peace, did an in-store signing here in town. And this is before I was just lining up as a fan, ready to meet him as an autograph and so forth. And the tour was taking place shortly after Tom Araya had vocal surgery, or his vocal problems.
No, neck surgery.
Neck surgery, I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
It wasn't his
Neck
fault. I'll
surgery.
tell you a story about that.
Okay.
Because he thought it was vocal, but it wasn't.
Okay. But it happened right after that, and so when it got my turn to meet Jeff in the line with hundreds of fans, you know, getting his autograph and posing for a picture, you know, I tried to think of something to say real quick to Jeff, so I said, "Jeff, if Tom runs into any sort of problems or difficulties tonight on stage, tell him I can hit the high scream in post-mortem." And Jeff just starts laughing. And fortunately, he was laughing with me, not at me or making fun of me. I'm convinced of that. And he didn't ask me to do the screen for him, and I didn't do it for him. But of course, the part that I was referring to was fatality, reality, await the final. That sort of thing. So that was my scream story.
All right, I got a story for you. Okay. So Tom thinks that, you know, and I call him Tom because I had the privilege of being his vocal teacher. He thinks that it's a possibility that the surgery that he had on his neck for headbanging they may have like infiltrated his larynx, right? And so I was, you know, luckily Tom was a respiratory therapist before he was a metal singer. So he had a huge background in breathing, right? So the language I was speaking to him was like, oh, yeah, floating. I mean, he knew all that stuff, right? So within 10 minutes, we clarified that, number one, that if he could do this exercise and this exercise, there would be no way that they had gone anywhere near his vocal folds. And because it was a breathing issue and not his vocal fold issue, that he would be able to do not only what he's supposed to do, but he could sing every note that he's ever been able to sing in his entire career. And I even put together like a montage of all the high notes through all the records. And I said, you could sing that, you could sing that, you could sing that. I promise you, just go and do it. Guess what? He's singing high all over again. I really didn't have to do anything except just show him, you know, 10 minutes. You know, it was basically all in his head. So that's my message. It's all in your head. It's all in your head.
There you go. I mean,
it's all in your head.
Free lessons right there for you guys.
It's a mental thing. So you just got to figure out what the mental thing is. You're supposed to be mentaling to do it right. That's all. You can't go up there and say, I'm going to be mentally loud, because you're going to do the wrong thing.
Melissa Cross, what a pleasure. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
This is awesome.
Yes, this is fantastic. Best of luck with
guys.
everything going forward. Go check out her website, melissacross.com.
Thank you.
Learn a lot more about her. So thank you very much once again. And for Melissa, this is Jay Nanda, San Antonio Metal Music Examiner, reminding you, don't hang them out to dry. Hold them up high.
I love that.